Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show tonight. Tonight's guest, we have Joseph on to the show tonight. He's a returned citizen from incarceration. We want to bring him on and give society a little information about the young man coming back into the world, after a period of time. Uh, Welcome to the show, Joseph.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here.
Right, we're glad to have you. Uh, you just come home from prison. How long you been off from prison?
I was released on December 21st.
December 21st. And how much time did you do, and what was your sentence?
I did 32 years.
32 years?
Yes.
And the crime
The
was?
crime was a first-degree murder robbery.
Okay, first degree robbery. Where did you do your time at?
Various places, because when you first start out, you're in an upper level with a lot of time. And so back in '85, there were only a few places you could go with that kind of time. Folsom, Quentin. I ended up in Folsom
Okay.
for the first few months until they opened up Tehachapi A Yard.
Okay.
And so they transferred me to Tehachapi, where I spent roughly 7.5 to 8 years there. Then I transferred to Lancaster,
Okay.
which is another level 4. They were continuously building prisons as I was in. It was a
Right,
prison
right.
boom, building boom.
Exactly.
And so when they built another prison, they would send the overflow to there. Then I went to Lancaster, stayed there for a number of years. The unique thing about Lancaster is it's not only a level 4, but it's also a level 3. So when my points dropped, then there was no need to send me to another institution. They just sent me to one of the yards that were a lesser security.
So they have a number of yards at Lancaster, 3s
Correct.
and 4.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So when your security level drops, if you do good, if you don't get any trouble, then your security level drops and you go down to a lower level. I went to a level 3, stayed there for a few years more, and then transferred to Donovan, which is in San Diego, which is also a lower level, level 3. I stayed there where I got involved in a number of programs, such as outreach programs for children, bringing in not quite a Scared Straight program, but it was similar, where we brought in at-risk youth from the surrounding area with their parents, counselors, parole officers, whatever they were doing, probation officers, and we would talk to them and tell our story.
Okay.
Then I got involved in substance abuse programs that were there, helping those people who had been trapped in this addiction, whether it be substance abuse or whether it be behavioral modification type of things. I got involved in that, and that's been pretty much my road, is to try to help other people recover through some of the things that I've been through as far as behavioral issues.
Okay. Now you say you attended the programs, and this was not too long after you was incarcerated. Did this happen for you immediate after you came into the system, or did it take a while?
No,
for
it
this?
took a period of time,
Okay,
because for me, I can't speak for everyone, but it is a typical reaction, is that you go through a period of adjustment.
Okay. So the reason I asked you that is because we wanna let people know the transition that we do, the metamorphosis, more or less, what we do when we go into prison. When you went into prison, you went into prison at a time where things was going on
Correct.
in different prisons, right?
Correct.
Wars was going on in different prisons, whatever. And so things was going on. So it took you a period of time for you to adapt to that way of living after leaving society.
Correct.
Okay.
Even though my crime was a violent crime, it was still a crime that was committed pretty much at the spur of the moment, right? It was a rash decision that was made. Now I'm in a situation where now you have to calculate and you have to really look at how you're living, and because a wrong decision can be very detrimental.
Right.
You have to learn how to be a little more callous, a little more calculating. Or you can opt to try to stay away from all these types of activities, which is almost impossible, at least back at that time.
Right.
It was almost impossible.
It was impossible.
Yes.
You had to live.
Yes.
So and like I said again, the reason I ask these questions because, see, we want to give society, our community, a picture of who we were when we went into the system, right? And the changes that we took upon ourselves to change. CDC didn't change us; we changed ourselves.
Correct.
We had to rehabilitate ourselves, right? So we want society, the community, to understand we went into a system and we went temporarily insane with the crime that we committed. But going into the system, we did the metamorphosis. We rehabilitated ourselves. We came back, right? A lot of
Yes.
people in society have gone insane out here and never came back. So we want to give the differences between a person that's in society where they're living, a opposed to us going into the system with the crime that we committed and the changes that we took upon ourselves to change ourselves because we knew one day we was going to come home. So this is what the question that I pose to you, wanting you to answer and give society who you are now opposed to who you were then.
Oh, okay. Well, the person that I am now, I have successfully, by the grace of God and with the help of other people, blended back and transitioned back into society to a very successful degree. But however, the person that I used to be, right, that transition took place in prison. I didn't just come out into society and all of a sudden change and start to say, okay, now I'm going to blend in. No, no, no. That change had to take place while I was incarcerated because there reached a point in time for me that I realized that prison was definitely where I was, but it wasn't who I was. And for a number of years prior to that, it was who I was. I belonged there because I was not the type of person who cared about other people's rights and responsibilities. I didn't care about their feelings. I didn't care about anything other than what I wanted. Right? Now, how I got to that place is really inconsequential. The key is that I realized at some point that I have to change in order for me to make my life better.
Right.
CDC is not going to help me do it. CDC is all about punishment. It's all about locking you up and keeping you away from society. The changes that I made were decisions that I said, you know, I have to make these changes. And there were periods of time when you see people that are going to the board and they're just coming back with denials and denials and denials, and they even raise the denial level for us, you know, to a number of years, and you're familiar with that.
Exactly.
So we got punished again and we didn't even do anything. But you kind of lose a little bit of hope sometimes because you're seeing it's not working. But it was at that moment that I realized, no, if I lose hope, then I'll never get out.
Right.
So I said, you know what, I maintain my hope, I maintain my courage and responsibility to live a better life so that way I know that when the time is right and I do step out in society, I will not step out the person that I was. Because you have a number of people that they wait until it's that time, and then by the grace of God or by whatever, they get out through attrition, and they're not ready. And they have programs out here in San Francisco that are very good programs, excellent, but they cannot help a person change who they are if they don't want to help themselves.
Exactly. The change, well, you know, we've seen a lot of people come home over the years, and we know that the change has to start inside. It can't start outside. A lot of people wait until the last few years, and they start doing a change within themselves in prison. So when they get ready to come home or go into the board of prison term, all the I's and the T's are not crossed and not dotted. So they have to go back and start working again. The denials, 3-year denials, 5-year denials, 10-year denials, 15-year denials, that's what they have now, right?
Correct.
And going into a board of prison term, see, the board of prison terms, they know when you're serious, when you're sincere, and they know when you're faking. It's what they do for a living. They go up and down the state all month, different prisons, and sit on boards and hear people's stories. So they can tell when a person is sincere and when a person is not. So the thing with you that you went to board, and how many times did you appear in front of the board of prison terms?
I went to the board roughly 7 times.
7 times, okay. And those 7 times that you appeared in front of the board of prison term, you gave them something apparently that they didn't accept.
No, that along with not giving them what they wanted. Not only was I trying to convince them of something that was not true,
right.
I was also lacking in the areas where I needed to be. You know, so like you said, they see people like me. I'm not unique, right? So they see people like me every day. That's their job. So they begin to recognize who is really sincere and who is not. There might be a few here and there that slip out of the cracks, you know, but for the most part, they know. And it took me 7 times. In fact, the time just prior to me, I had gotten a 5-year denial because I still had not given up some of those old behaviors. Some of those behaviors, and the key one is thinking that I am entitled and that the rules do not apply to me.
Right.
I had a tendency to do that, to think that, okay, this is a good rule, but it's only for those people over there or these people over here. So I had to realize, no, the rules apply to me as well. And so when I went to the board and I sat in front of a commissioner, he realized that I still had that entitlement issue. And he told me, you are your worst enemy. You came in here without what you needed, without being prepared to be released. And so I cannot release you. And I look back on it in retrospect, I have no argument with that man. You know, we want to look at the board and say that they're this and they're that, and they look down on them, but their job is actually to protect society.
Exactly.
You know, and they can't just let rubber stamp people to get out, because then what you would have is chaos out in the streets.
Exactly. You know, I talked to a lot of people, and I asked them the same questions that I asked you, and a lot of people say that, well, the commissioner he just you know he wasn't for me coming home. You know, but see, I find that not to be true. You know, I don't find that the commissioners want to keep us in prison. You know, I find that the commissioners want to make sure that that crime never happens again before they sign their name on that paper. Because once they sign their name on the paper, they're responsible for you leaving that prison. And they got to be sure that whatever crime that you did, whatever heinous crime that you did, that ain't gonna never happen again. They can't send you back to society and say, well, okay, this is the prison's overpopulated. Okay, let them all. You know, they can't do it like that. They got to make sure that these crimes are not going to happen again. You went in front of the Board of Prison terms. They were certain that this crime wasn't going to never happen again. It allows you to come home. They sign their name on that paper and let you come home.
Correct.
So now that you're home, let's find out what you're going to do. What you're doing now.
Well, now, aside from being meeting people like yourself and coming home to an environment that is rich with assistance and people trying to help, I was paroled. I'm from LA, and I was paroled here to San Francisco. Not only do I have no one, no family members left over, no friend, I was paroled to a city I've never been to, right? But I was paroled into a program that embraced me and gave me not handcuffs, but assistance and help up, you know, to do the things that I needed to do. Now, is it lacking in certain areas? Yes, because it's key. The programs are keyed mostly towards people who have drug problems and other types of issues like that, whereas most of us that are coming out of prison have already exercised those demons. We no longer have those issues. But I came into a system where they gave me all the help that I could really ask for in order to learn how to readjust. Strangely enough, as I began to take steps in society along with people, I shed a lot of the misconceptions that I had. Because I'd had the misconception that, okay, now that I won't be able to be around a lot of people and I won't be able to deal with fast movements, or because in prison everything is slow and it's drab, right? And you come out into society and simple things like a lot of color and a lot of movement and these types of things, they can have an effect on a person. But I think that sometimes those effects are psychosomatic. I think that we convince ourselves that I'm not going to be able to deal with this. And so we shut down and we get around a crowd of people, and all of a sudden, you know, I remember the first time I got on the Muni, on the bus here. Oh my goodness. You know, I mean, it was crowded. I mean, there's people, and it's like, oh, I flew for the first time from LA to come to see my parole officer. For the first time I got on, I was in the airport. And that's an experience in itself, because people are moving and bumping, and you know, and then I get on a plane, and that's another new experience. So my life has been a constant progression of new experiences, and I've embraced those new experiences, whether they be good, bad, or indifferent, and said, look, okay, I'm free. Okay, I'm lost right now. I don't know where I'm at, but I'm free, so I'm going to enjoy the view until I figure out how to get where I'm going.
Yeah. It's really a new experience, you know, that because you like you said, you leave from one environment that's everything is hostile, and you come to an environment where, you know, we got people that's different people around us, you know, all colors and shapes and sizes, and everybody's doing something different. You know, they're not trying to get you, not trying to take something from you. Everybody is living their life, going on with their daily duties. You know, so we come home to a society that's brand new, it's foreign. You know, so we have to readjust to this life again. That's why I call it return citizens, coming back to society. We left one society because prison is a society within itself, and we come back to a society where this is the norm. We're going to a man-made society in there, but this is the norm, and it's a beautiful thing. So now, where are you at now in your life?
In my life right now, I am working with an individual who recognized that I had some potential, and he reached out to me. I have another thing as far as my career goals that I'm working with someone. I can mention your name. So you have been very instrumental in a lot of the things that I have for my future, right? And I appreciate that.
Right, pleasure's mine.
More than anything, brother. And so now I'm still along the lines of doing all I can. The house that I came from, as far as the transition home, I go back there from time to time and help facilitate reentry classes or orientation classes because they're shorthanded sometimes. So I try as best I can to give back, not just in lip service, but in actually helping people with their issues, with problems. Because sometimes just talking to someone, because a lot of people in this city, they don't have time to talk. You're busy. It's the most expensive city in the nation, and so you have to work, and everything is hectic, and so people don't have a lot of time unless you're going to talk to a professional, and can't afford that. So I don't call myself a professional psych or a psychologist, but I am a person who has some practical experience, and usually the people that I converse with, they have experienced the same thing I have. And I can tell them, well, this is what I did. Now, it might not work for you, but this is what I did, and something similar might work for you. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be of service as best I can without taking so much from myself that I become resentful.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. What are your future goals?
My future goals are to become a staff of a reentry home. That's my career goal because that's in my wheelhouse. Taking some of the experience that I've gotten when I was in prison and utilizing that out here for people who are coming out of prison, who now they have to try to negotiate this labyrinth, this city, and putting them into a class about drug addiction or putting them into an AA that's not effective because it's not teaching them how to get on the bus. It's not teaching them how to go to the market and use that automated teller or open up a bank account. They don't need to know how to stop drinking. They don't drink. They have no desire to drink. They need to know how to, like I say, open up a bank account. They need to know how to grocery shop. And so I've been offered an opportunity to get involved on the ground floor of a reentry home that keys specifically towards those needs of those individuals that are getting out after doing long periods, decades at a time of incarceration and entering into a brand new world where they don't know anything that's going on.
Everything is formed. We have a lot of different programs in San Francisco. As you stated, San Francisco is the most expensive place to live. In San Francisco, people coming home from prison, they go into these programs, transitional housing, but after a period of time, they have to leave there, right?
Yes.
And then we got all these tents on the street. People got tents. We don't want people to come from these transition housing, and go get a tent because, slowly but surely they're gonna resort back what they know.
Correct.
They have to live somewhere. They got to have money. So we want to have something that's going to be stable for them to come home to, and be able to follow in the program as you have, and be successful at doing it. So we want to give them something that's tangible that they can hold on to, and hope. Going for the board of prison term, you have hope going in that room that you're gonna get a date that day. So we got to give them the same thing that they started the transition on inside, bring them home, and continue the transition once they get here. So with the work that's ahead of you, because we got work ahead of you, that the work that's ahead of you, we're going to be able to change lives, and you can continue changing your life to make it smooth for the rest of your life. So we want society to know that what you did in the past, that's in the past. That can't change.
Correct.
That can't change.
Correct.
So who you are today, and we welcome you home.
Well, thank you.
We welcome you home.
And just what you said, it reminded me of a quote, if I may, by Maya Angelou, who said that we cannot undo the past. It has been lived. But if we face it with courage and determination, it need not be relived.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So we face the reality of our wrongs and not try to defend, because people have, I know myself, for speaking for me, the reason I was going into the board so many times is because I was continuing to try to defend that person, that 18-year-old kid. I was continually trying to defend him, sometimes outright and other times by mitigating his actions or trying to make excuses, right? And so they recognized that, look, you got to stop defending that.
Right.
And I had to realize, you know what, you're right. Because as long as I tried to defend that person, I'm saying that was okay.
It's okay. Right.
I had to completely separate. No, that was wrong. That person was wrong completely,
Right.
and that is no longer me.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so once I did that, now I can look at the next person and say, you need to. Well, let me not say, I don't like to tell people what they need to do. But I would tell a person what you may want to do is to separate yourself and stop trying to defend your actions.
Exactly.
Because when you were involved in your addiction, whether it be drugs, alcohol, or behavioral issues, you took on a set of habits and principles that were associated with that. And you did that for years. Okay, so now you no longer drink. You no longer do drugs, and maybe you've stopped becoming the liar or the criminal that you were before. But you still have some of those behaviors that you have.
Right.
And that's what you have to get rid of.
Right. Right.
You see, because people recognize the behaviors and they will treat you as such. And then you're wondering, why is it that I've made all these positive changes in my life and no one is recognizing? And you become discouraged, and sometimes you fall back into, well, if that's the way they're going to feel, then I might as well just, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, that's what I've learned. I've learned to just completely stop, accept that was wrong, apologize for it, and then move on and never do it again. The very definition of repentance.
Exactly. Yeah, we have to change our old habits and get good habits, new habits. You know, that's just like the person that go into a program, into a drug program. When you go into a drug program, they strip you down from everything that you have. They cut your hair. They strip you down from everything down to the foundation and build you back up. So you can't just come home not being stripped down from who you were when you went into prison. Because I see people going into prison, and I know one day those individuals are going to come home. They're going to get paroled, some kind of way, either with a toe on their tag or either upright. But they're going to come home one day. The ones that have that's still standing upright, I want them to come home different from what they were when they went in. I don't want them climbing my mother's window, still in a VCR. You know, if they're still in that manner, stay in prison, right? But I want the person to come home and to be that changed person. So the person that goes in front of the board of prison term, find them suitable. It takes some time to find them suitable, but find them suitable, allow them to come home. Because whenever you find them suitable, he's done the metamorphosis. He's put the work in. You know, he rehabilitated himself. CDC didn't do it.
Correct.
You see, so, you know, we welcome you home. You did the work.
I'm still working.
It's a work in progress.
Yes.
It's a work in progress. So you did the work, and it's ongoing, and it'll never end. You know, because every day there's something different every day. You know, my saying, if you don't know no better, you can't do no better. But when you learn better, you start doing better. You know, we didn't know no better.
No.
You know, we learned better, so now we do better. So
Exactly.
every day is another blessed day above ground. We got one more day to get something right, one day at a time.
One day at a time.
If we can't get something right every day, there's something wrong with us in
Yes.
that day. Not wrong with today,
No.
wrong with us.
Yes.
So we want to say thank you for coming on to the show.
I
We
appreciate
appreciate
your
your time and your patience, and we want to bring you back in some months.
I have no problem with that. I would love that. And thank you very much for the opportunity to talk
Yes,
to you.
yes. We want to bring you back some months to let the community, society to know how you're doing.
Wow.
You know, so we appreciate you coming on and continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Right on. Thank you.
You're
All right. We want to say good evening to the audience tonight. Look at the show next week at 7 o'clock. Saturday nights, tune in to the channel 2976 and look at our show. We're trying to let society and the community know who we are. You know, we're not real bad people. You know, we committed a crime. We went temporary insane, but we came home. We came home a different person. The person that went in, we left them in there. These people came home. Give them a shot. Thank you and have a good night.